first session today will focus on independent PR firms. Is there a problem of plenty? As I introduce the panelists in alphabetical order, I request them to come on stage and take a seat here. May we please have Anand Mahesh, co-founder Mavcomm, Madhvendra Das, founder director The Good Edge, Nandita Lakshmanan, founder and chairperson The Practice, Vineet Handa, founder and CEO Kaizzen. Moderating this panel is Sonia Kulkarni, managing partner Hunk Golden and Media.
Good morning. And while we're waiting for Diana, of course, we had a wonderful pre-panel discussion with everyone. But before that, thank you very much, Amit and team, for inviting and having us here. And some of the statistics that you've presented are really mind-boggling to know that we have grown from strength to strength. We have people here who have also responsible for encouraging so many of us to take this step. Well, I have my ex-boss, and I was just telling Madan that it's 20 years since I've moved to Bombay. And the seed of entrepreneurship and the seed of starting my own agency probably started way back then, seeing him and being trained by him. We have someone like Nandita, who's in the industry for 3 decades now, Nandita, and I mean, that's huge, right? And all of us here, Vineet, he was talking to me about his, and Madhav, and all of us. I think it's so, I think we should pat ourselves because we've reached this stage. COVID, no COVID, and we're growing strength to strength, and the numbers are just, putting it out there. So, independent PR firms, is there a problem of plenty? And I want to throw this question open to all my panelists here, and I'm really wanting to make this discussion very interesting because Amit has given us this opportunity to open this panel and have a great, insightful evening, day ahead. So, Nandita, here's to you first. Go ahead.
I think it's a good problem to have. I always say, just like the demographic opportunity that we have in our country, we hope that this problem of plenty becomes a dividend for our industry rather than a liability. It's really, really, I come from a time where I studied PR back in the 90s. And there is so much more to do beyond just acquiring clients. As a discipline, there are so many aspects to explore. From a language perspective, there is so much to do. From a regional perspective, there are there's so much diversity that we yet have to explore. So I do feel that the canvas is still very, very large. And it's a great time for entrepreneurship in public relations. It is just important that we do it right.
That's, of course, saying we have a lot of challenges and struggles coming up. Some of us who have started maybe less than a decade. Some of us are starting now. I mean, PR agencies are mushrooming. Yet I see there is a huge gap, huge potential, because the number of startups are increasing, the number of MSMEs are increasing, there are newer brand launches happening, category creations. And I want us to really deep dive into each of the aspects because a lot of us are here to also learn from these discussions. So Vineet, over to you. While of course Nandita very nicely said that it is a great opportunity and there is a place in the sun for everyone. But your perspective, because you quit and you started, and I remember you telling me that in the initial years, you just focused on maybe a couple of client acquisitions here, and then you're on this treadmill, and today you're 100 clients plus. So how has this journey been for you?
So, first of all, I believe the opportunity side, and I would like Amit to sort of look into it, probably some secondary research data. I think only the 5% corporate, non-corporate, NGOs or government is covered by us. If I really look at the overall, sort of umbrella of things which we are trying to do. That means still the opportunities of these 95% more corporates, MSMEs, even startups, NGOs, governmental, non-government, individuals. So there's so much scope out there. That's the scope point of view. Now, the challenge over there is the awareness. Either people do not understand what we do, or people do not see value in what we bring on table. So I think that's a challenge side which I probably look at. The other side of again from the challenges point of view is when we started, say 15 years back, or when I started my career 22, 23 years back, the opportunities from the media side was huge, and now it's all shrinking, and it's sort of so the way I really see it is the biggest challenge for us is to grow from just PR to comms, and then see the whole integration journey. Not only integration as far as the platforms, and I generally talk about this. Like 4 years, 5 years back, we used to talk about the new media. And the whole online space used to be called new media. Now nobody talks about new media. It's about media, right? It's about platforms, and it's not about whether it's a traditional media or a new media. It's about platforms. And I think that's the journey what we have covered, and that's where the opportunity is. And that's where the opportunity for agencies, the current agencies to grow, but also the newer agencies which are coming in to look into. I think these are the two areas which I probably see. The third big opportunity, when we started our things, regional media used to be very, very important. Now, if you really look at clients today again started talking about that regionalization. And not all, but yes, the target audience which we're really looking at, because they also realize that the content consumption in languages have grown faster than the English language content consumption. So, these are the few things which I personally feel throws a lot of these thought process and opportunities. The other part which we really look at is, even after 20 years, these are the 5 cities or 6 cities which we talk about from the agency's point of view. A lot of these other cities, which I'm sure Amit must have not mapped, have grown. There are agencies which have come up. Freelancers have become an agency. So I have seen that journey as well. And I think that's another area. I mean, if let's look at it. The only probably agency or company which has the national footprint is that factor is probably what, 12 offices, sir? Yeah. And so that's the kind of scope. The growth, even for the agencies, have to go deeper. And there are local businesses available. It's not that you sort of go and just service them. Look at your servicing your national clients, but also there are businesses out there. So I think these are the opportunities which I would talk about.
Vineet, while I do agree with a lot of what you've said, I would like to bring Madhvendra here, because Madhvendra has a sea of expertise, experience from being in the media, corporate communications, and now in agency for last 7 years. So I hope it's not a 7-year itch now. And what have you seen this space growing in? Innovations, client acquisition could be an area, talent retention, because I think everybody is hungry for business. Everybody wants to grow. And Vineet, you did say people first. And I will also take Anand and Nandita's view on this, because I'm sure there are struggles here, but also an opportunity too. What do you have to say to this?
No, thanks. The 7-year itch is over, so I'm now feel much more settled in this space. I'll just try to address that first piece on, is there a problem of plenty? And the short answer is no, I don't think so. One, service industries, there's no capital restriction, or there's no entry barrier as such. But if there are 100 agencies which are continuing, and possibly there are many more which are around there, which we may not have yet, found our arms around. Clearly, the fail rate is not that high, which is a great thing, which means that there is enough business out there, and we all know that. Also, any industry I firmly believe any industry to deepen, strengthen, it needs to build an ecosystem for itself. And for ecosystem, then we need the tigers, the lions, the elephants, the big 5, but we also need a lot of the deer and the lambs and everything else that comes in between. So I think we are in that process of building that ecosystem. Even IndeComms is a step in that direction. What Amit is doing wonderfully well is a great step in that direction. And to that extent, I really feel that we are still kind of in that process of building the ecosystem. So that's the first part. The second part was my journey from, let's say, financial services to journalism to Copcom and now into PR has been a journey of, in my mind, progression. When I was from the journalistic side, I felt that there is a lot more that corporate communications can do in positioning organizations. And when I was in corporate communications, I felt two reasons. One is, of course, the itch that you talked about to do something on your own, but also to be able to have agencies which can look at the entire spectrum of what corporate communications is, something that Vineet also pointed out too. And as consumer of as corporate communications and consumer of agency services at that time, we really felt that that was lacking in a lot of agencies. I mean, in foreign banks where I have worked for a long time, the head of comms is also, his or her neck is on the line for any communication that goes out, including marketing and advertising communications. And I know that we used to struggle to find one partner. We had to have multiple partners to be able to handle all of those things. And I always thought as this ecosystem develops, will we be able to get more integrated offerings? And I'm again happy to note that that's happening quite in a strong way. So very shortly, therefore, I think the ecosystem of communications agencies is still developing. And we are possibly midway or even before midway there. And therefore, it will have a lot of agencies. It will also have the problems that get associated with agencies. Talent is going to be a huge problem. The good thing is, I think business is out there. But if I see today the constraint, I think it is talent, in a huge way.
Okay, that brings me to Anand. Anand, you started, I think, way back in 2003, 2006, and you're very focused on the auto and the BFSI space, so it's very niche. So do you think with this problem of plenty or opportunity, there's enough for you there? Especially with agencies which have niche specialization, is that the way forward? Or generalist agencies will continue to thrive?
I think both will thrive, but again, probably I will just take a step back and see the problem of plenty. So when we started in 2006, I probably could count around 40 odd agencies which are already there, and we probably started that time. And now when I look at it, I mean, almost every day I'm listening a new agency's name and there are new people. And honestly, I don't think that we're doing enough industry mapping. Well, you do for our clients, but what is happening in our own industry. So good to see all those entrepreneurs, good to see so many people coming up and starting agencies. Whether the problem of plenty, I think, and I actually pulled out some figures. I think we're about 1.4 crore MSMEs. We have about 40,000 companies which are more than 250 crore turnover. I think it's a huge pie. And taking off from probably our government, we should have a Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Sabka PR also. So, why should people not get PR? And we can probably, and being the integrated kind of services that we provide, I think we can actually do wonders for everybody and enable businesses to grow. So from that perspective, problem of plenty is good to have, like Nandita said, definitely yes. Happy to have, all the people come together, and we collaborate with a lot of people here under the setting there. So we work together on a lot of mandates. So I think that's the way to go. Build the ecosystem, work with partner agencies, work with collaborators. In terms of problem of talent, I think there might be a bit of problem of talent because there are few institutes which are not good people. But if you get lateral talent, if you get people and you can train them on your own, I think, again, that's possible. And I think sky is the limit for all of us right now, and there's a lot of scope from that perspective.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Dinah. Thank you so much for coming in, Dinah. I know you had a challenge and yet you made it. So thank you very much. So while we're, of course, discussing the topic, what I would like you to also talk about is the quality of service. We spoke about this in the pre-panel discussion, and very interesting, things came up. Because a lot of times when clients are also changing agencies, a lot of feedback that you get at that time when you're meeting clients is, obviously XYZ agency is not delivered or it's not up to the mark, and, however big or small the agency agencies could be, and also the people involvement, the senior people involvement. So I would like you to really talk about these two things.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and I'm really sorry for walking in so late. So yes, of course, as ma'am mentioned, when you talk about plenty, there is a problem of plenty, yes, but I feel there's plenty of opportunities right now. So the problem really is the sheer number of opportunities that are presented out there, not just from MSMEs or startups, but even larger organizations, brands, service providers. There are so many out there who are looking for the right kind of PR partners. And while, of course, there are big and large agencies as well as smaller agencies, I feel the edge that we have is the kind of quality of service that we provide in terms of being more hands-on, in terms of being out there for the client, being available at any point in time, and sort of, hand-holding the client at whatever stage it may be. So I feel that's the edge that we have. While we do work with a lot of large companies as well as smaller companies, what we see that, the quality doesn't differ in terms of the kind of client base or the kind of client retainer. It's pretty much, mapping what the client wants, identifying his or her target group, and then creating or rather customizing services basis the client requirements. So it's more of, not like a cookie cutter model where one size fits all or like one standardized model. It's more about tailoring your solutions basis the client. It's about, ensuring that you're there with the client throughout the journey, not just for a particular project or few months, but sort of growing with the client. And that's the edge that we have seen. We do work with larger companies who've worked with bigger agencies in the past or who have bigger agencies and also work with us for certain mandates. So I just feel it's the fact that, we're out there and we're available, and whatever the size of client may be, the leadership team, right from me to the core team, everyone is present for whatever needs to be done. I feel that's the slight edge that we have over a lot of agencies. And I just feel that we're at a very, very great time. It's like the golden period of PR right now. And there is tremendous opportunity out there to be just grabbed, It's just about how we tailor our services, what we do, and how we sort of, like I said, handhold clients and take them ahead is what will take us ahead. So that's what I feel.
Great. So taking from the golden period of PR, Nandita, you've seen it all. You've seen the struggles, you've seen the challenges. And today, while of course we're all together in this one room, some of you who really, went out there and, set the stage for all of us to follow, I still feel there's a bit of a divide. The biggies versus the upcoming ones or the middle ones and whatever, the stage of growth. And where do you see that? Do you see that it's been a fair journey for you in terms of you're able to command your price today, or in terms of retaining your talent versus, they being poached away or clients? Or do you still think that, no, after 30 years, we still have the edge and a lot of us need to still learn and follow and, learn the ropes?
So I think it's very, very important to know who you are and what your vision for your firm is. It's very, very easy to get caught, in the rat race and to start chasing, firms who perhaps are not what you should be or where you need to go. I mean, everyone has an individual personality. For the practice, we defined growth and scale very differently. For us, it was going deeper. It was not reaching out for the skies, but mining deeper. I have a slightly more academic interest in public relations, and I call it a discipline. For me, communication is just a subset of public relations. It's stakeholder engagement sits at the heart of public relations. And when you look at stakeholder engagement, Sonia, my big regret is that as an industry, we've abdicated so many programs and solutions that actually belong to us. Internal communications, right? Today, HR drives it. And we are left with, doing just the design and the content and just pushing it out. Public affairs, the buzzword today, belongs to us, public relations. We abdicated that. CSR, corporate social responsibility, building communities, trust in communities, belong to public relations. We abdicated that. More recently, in a recent event, Jasprit Bindra spoke about the growth of ethicists. in this world of AI and fake news and all of that, he spoke about ethicists. Are we going to abdicate that as well? So you see, when you talk communication, you will talk digital, you will talk media relations, you will talk all of that. But when you talk public relations, you are looking at regaining all that you abdicated. And for me, that really is the vision for public relations. That is what we really need to look at. That is the opportunity. So reclaiming so many of these aspects for me really is the golden opportunity. Sonia, to your question, therefore, is that been a fair journey? Well, it's never fair or unfair, right? I mean, but having said that, I do feel, and this is a learning because we started as a tech PR firm, I believe that what we saw when a Mr. Murthy or a Premji or, they led the IT industry and they spoke about co-opetition, I feel that we can do a lot more with that. Even today, much as we, sit all of us sit in this room, perhaps we are one industry where the largest firm and the smallest firm perhaps charge the same retainer fee. And I think that has to change, because you cannot have an 18 lakh retainer fee, which perhaps is what a small firm may charge. And you can't have a large firm cannibalize that business and charge 18 lakhs. That is travesty. We've come far. We've 25 years as a sector, or more as a sector, maybe 35, 40, 50 years as a sector. There are so many industries we can learn from. And we should be doing that. We should be doing a lot more of that. It is, as I heard someone say, a dog-eat-dog world, which is fine. But we're also in a business that manages reputation. We've got to think different. We can't follow the dog-eat-dog thing that so many sectors have done. We need to hold ourselves up high so that people kind of learn from how we have kind of built our industry and follow us. So I think that's what I would leave it.
So while it shouldn't be a dog-eat-dog world, and while we should, as PR professionals or PR evangelists, really move towards educating or taking forward this discipline, but yet it's a question of survival. And yet all of us have to survive, pay the salaries, pay the vendors, the rents, whatever. And then there is the price cutting. And Vineet, I was hearing the conversation when we started, and few of you said, "Lage raho." तो ये लगे रहो में हम लोग क्या compromise कर रहे हैं? Are we compromising on learning and development, training, innovation? Well, there's so much chat about AI, ChatGPT, blah, blah, blah. But even the content that really comes out is not up to the mark. And every day you have so many different challenges and you have to face as an entrepreneur, because even at times to survive that day is a challenge, yet PR throws up so many surprises.
So, Lage Raho is honestly, in some sense, also means survival of the fittest. There are rainy days, there are dry days. And when I look at seasons, that's how it works. On a dry day, dog will eat dog. So it's a survival, right? And when it comes to survival, strategies change, work changes, because then you would see your team, your employees, your survival first. So I think that's one strategy which we have to keep in mind, that we can't be, always live in that sort of a world where we say, no, it should not happen, because ultimately it's a survival. So that's one part of, and then I have understood that well in time, that and it's not about, in this dog-eat-dog world, it's not about independent agencies alone, it's agencies across. Even the global agencies, which there was a time I've heard that we do not sign less than $5,000 and blah, blah, blah. And now next day you see, oh, there is $1,200 client has gone to XYZ agency. And I'm like, is it so? Yeah, because that's the model, because they put in a executive and a senior executive to service, create a, so they basically what they have done is they commoditized the whole delivery system, and that's how. So that's one part of it. And I believe, we have to be prepared as an agencies that that's the world where you have to live with. Now, the second question comes is survive. How do you survive? How do you... In this, there are two things which, as far as we are concerned, our strategy is retention. And when we say retention is clients, our strategy is not based on the new businesses, period. Whatever comes is good. Otherwise, this is what we have to survive. And if we are able to retain 90% or 95% of our businesses year on year, and believe me, if that's the rate you can retain, you're going to survive. There's no challenge in that. And then, just because you're surviving businesses, you do get good business as well. And the second strategy here is retention. Now, retention of, if you're retaining clients, you have to retain employees. Wherever you see high employee attrition, you'll see a client attrition as well. There is a clear correlation out there. So I think these are two very important. And I'm now talking very, day to day what we deal with. Now, the third part which comes out of this whole area of, growth and also, growth for agency as such. And I think Nandita spoke really, talked about that how do you, if you're retaining a client, how do you increase your billing? That means your services need to improve. You need to go deeper rather than wider. So same client, how many services, how you can, there is existing trust, how do you can offer more and more things which helps you to increase your revenue. Because next year you go and say, hey, I want to increase 20% retainer, chances not happening. Market is stable, they're not making. So, the way we have grown is we have increased our billing, we have increased our service portfolios, we have increased with the same clients, and that has helped us.
Great. So this brings me to the question, there was this time when independent PR agencies were growing, and there was a lot of, Western interest, and we had international affiliations. We had agencies being acquired. We have examples with, of course, MSL and Sampark and, some of them Genesis. And we have two entrepreneurs here. Diana, of course, she looks very young, but her agency is 20 years old at least. 10, okay, sorry. And Madhvendra. So where do you see this whole space? Do you think this is now the time for consolidation within our industry? Are we, because, while the last decade has been great, and we have had a lot of growth of independent PR agencies, but or even personally, have you come to a point and you said, okay, now this is the time for me to either acquire or get acquired, Any one of you can take the question. And please, the rest of the panelists, do feel free to give your inputs.
Okay, so let me start with it. So no, not in terms of consolidation, but what we have come to realize lately has been that collaboration works better. And in that sense, we have collaborated with a lot of partner firms across various service verticals, across various kinds of businesses. And I think that's been very successful for us. Just to go back to Vineet's point, I think survival of fittest is a great concept, but it essentially comes from jungle Raj or a jungle. I would probably look at it from a community, and it's a bit utopian in nature. But I think Gujarati community, and we are sitting in Bombay, actually helping each other and growing, and incubating young entrepreneurs, supporting them while they're growing. If we can do that as an industry, I think we can actually help each other in growing. And I've done that. I have referred clients to various, juniors of mine from college who have started their own firms, or others. And I think, why don't we support each other? Why don't we help each other in growing if we are not able to service anyone? I think that's the way that I would look at it. I think survival, of course, we need to grow for ourselves. We need to grow for the team that relies on us. But I think at the larger ecosystem level, why don't we actually support each other in growing further?
To Anand's point, I would also say, I think all of us should redefine scale, because scale as is defined, top line, number of offices, number of people, is great, right? But that's the classic definition of scale. But how about scale for the public relations sector? How would you define scale? And scale for each one of us may be different. And as long as you redefine that and you're comfortable with that, and I think that should be fine, and not get carried away with the classical definition of scale, which is also important, right, to give a certain heft. But I do feel that we belong to a unique discipline, and we must, each one of us, define scale the way we would like to see it. And I think, everyone will accept it. And none of us is going to be worse for that.
I'll quickly comment on this. For first 10 years of Kaizen journey, nobody knew Kaizen. We are 15 years old now. We kept quite low profile. We maintained par 15, 18, 20 clients, whatever. We had to change our gear, because it's not because of I wanted that way. It's the team who has serviced us, who has been with us for the longest time. They wanted growth. And, sometimes the scale is not because of, and that's a pressure, right? If you're not growing, they want to grow, then there is a misfit between the management and the team's goals. So that's another angle. And there is no simple answer to it. But then even if you don't want, you get into that race of, okay, you have to grow because you want to retain people. They are good people. They have supported you and things like those. So I think it's a very interesting debate, and I'm sure the meter which shows here does not allow us to discuss that.
Let me hear Dinah's and Madhvendra's views also on this. And while we have just 2 minutes, I still have a very important question after this, and then we'll probably... Okay, great.
Thank you. So I do believe in consolidation at some point in time, and I feel that that's like a natural progression for, smaller outfits to be a part of a larger ecosystem. It's maybe just fair for your people as well who've stuck around over the last decade and who want to see that growth, because these 18 lakh retainers don't come to us. So maybe at some point in time,
because you're compromising. Or maybe the definition of success
could be, like
is
I
different
said,
for you.
Absolutely. Scale is different, right, for everyone. Customization is different. Services are different. Yeah, annual then, yeah, okay. So of course, to be fair to people, to sort of be a part of a larger ecosystem at some point in time, maybe yes, we do see it as a natural progression in the future, and we've been speaking to people over the last few years, but it's something that has. I think when the time is right, it will come to us. But yeah, I feel that is something that will help the industry as a whole.
Yeah, so first answering your question on consolidation, I think that has to be part of any robust industry. कुछ थक जाएंगे, कुछ पक जाएंगे, कुछ रुक जाएंगे, और कुछ push हो जाएंगे. So that is bound to happen, and it must happen. Where I feel, and I totally agree with what Nandita said, why are we abdicating some of those things which are core communications? Maybe we did, maybe it was a question of survival, but I think today agencies are exploring those horizons. I feel that we also have a little bit of a crisis of identity, and it comes much more starkly when you compare it to, let's say, advertising agencies. We really belong in the boardroom. PR agencies should be sitting in the boardroom with the top leadership and discussing strategy, and then the implementation. That's the confidence that we have to build amongst ourselves. And then some of these issues of what kind of retainers, what kind of commercial that we are able to demand will change. But to be able to do that, we need to build that confidence, we need to build that capability. But I totally agree, there are a lot more horizons which I think we have left for others to dabble in, and they don't do it well enough. We should regain that. Yeah.
How many people in this room right now thinking about wanting to get acquired? Anyways, yeah.
I would say that, and I think I will commit heresy by saying this, and I hope it doesn't go out. I just feel that, the biggest, as much as the COPCOM roles, and the biggest problem that we have is this, this move from migration of public relations professionals from PR firms with half-baked knowledge moving into the corporate side and doing only what they know without keeping their minds open to what, that is, and in so many ways, therefore, the gatekeepers, and Madhvendra, you spoke about being in the boardroom. It is not going, I will be spending time with the CEO, but if the budget is being managed by a Corpcom who comes with that very myopic view of what public relations is, my budget is not going to increase. I'm actually going to be running my business like an NGO, And so this is the biggest problem. And, I think we are not able to charge that kind for good advice. And, it's and so this has to change. We have to stop this migration. Corporates have to support us in that. I don't know how many of you are seeing these trends of corporates having teams that are 15, 18, 20, almost like mini agencies within them, right? Everyone doing the same thing. Agencies doing the same thing. The Corpcom people are doing the same thing. You're talking to the same set of stakeholders. It is not going anywhere. So I think we need to address that.
Okay, so that brings me really to the last question, because I have this red screen if it says time's up. But while is there a problem of plenty? I want to ask, are we doing enough for ourselves? As enough for ourselves, as our own agencies, enough for ourselves, as an industry, we spoke about peer-to-peer conversation. But the biggest question for me here is also the health of the clients. We've had issues, and I asked you this, Vineet, of course, you all know, is the freshly appointed secretary. We don't really have, or even if there is, maybe not too many of us are aware, if we have problems we are dealing with, client payments, clients come in. And I remember this when I was working earlier in another agency. This particular client, there was payments pending for 6 months. And then obviously they moved to another agency. In the other agency, worked with them for 3. They paid for the initial 2 months. And again, there was a client, things like that. Or it could be any other issues. So what are we doing as an industry? We need to tackle this.
So honestly, that's WIP in our language. And we are hoping that we, in next 6 months, have a clarity on ombudsman. As far as the PRCI is concerned, that conversation is already happening at both Mavcomm and at CEC level. We have recently started something called Mediation Desk. I'm sure you all are aware. And Mediation Desk is, again, something which is, in a smaller sense, between agency to agency kind of an issues. So I think that's something which we've started. And there are a couple of cases which have happened or issues which have happened has been taken over by Mediation Desk and are greatly handled there. The next step is Ombudsman, and I'm sure I can't commit on behalf of PRCI, but I know for sure that there's, and I can assure you that there's work in progress, and hopefully we come back to you, to the industry very soon on that. And thank you. This is like, by putting this question right here, you got some answers, and we'll have to work on it.
Yeah,
Yep, thank you.
So the time is up, and we would like to conclude. If there are any concluding remarks quickly, any from my panelists can say. Or also one last thing we discussed is, as agencies, we should also do something for the environment, the society. So that's something, Vineet, probably you can drive the conversation separately. But thank you very much for this opportunity, Amit. And thank you for my panelists, Anand, Nandita, Vineet, Madhav, and Diana. It's been a pleasure. And I hope the audience has got some insights through this interesting conversation, and you can, you have a clarity on your path forward. Thank you very much.